Yeah, hi, my name is Peter Summer. I'm a fourth generation native of Brooklyn and Northeast, and I'm also owner and founder of a financial news service. So my question is basically the basics of any kind of transaction of this sort. We're so fortunate to have Brian Schwalb, who was not only a Harvard Law graduate, he was a managing partner of one of the global law firms of the United States, Vanderbilt, originally in Baltimore. And in this case of the $1 payment for this historic property, it was chartered by Abraham Lincoln, I believe, and I think we have a lot of issues, federal and local issues during the history, federal dollars involved, so this is not a very clear-cut transaction. The first question is, in a transaction like this, it is normal, best practice, and I think legally required to have at least 3 bidders for a property, so people like us would know who's bidding and what. That is a very basic requirement. And so, did you have 3 bidders, and did the Attorney General ask to see the bids? And there can be no secrecy in this process because this is not a private-to-private transaction. This is a non-for-profit selling for a for-profit, therefore there can be no non-disclosure, secrecy, or any kind of confidentiality in the agreement. It has to be all above board. So I would ask that we reopen the process and that us residents, maybe we can have a referendum, just a Ward 5 referendum to vote on this at some point. We have elections in the next year or so. And I see the Providence. Also, another issue is we would like to have the names and all the documents of the independent valuations of this property. Since we have some of the leading banks like J.P. Morgan, Brian Mayer, and some of the biggest law firms, we would like this to be reviewed by a law firm and a bank who has some reputation to lose. You know, somebody who cannot cut corners, because it's a very serious deal. I mean, at my valuation, I'm just doing it's already worth $138 million. That was a write-off that Ascension gave to this property. So we're talking about a $138 million property just from the start. And I mean, that's the only real fact and figures we have. And thirdly, and this is very important, we need the names and lists of all the board members of the Providence Hospital Foundation. You know, the more transparent we are, the more that we can rest assured there's no self-dealing. And I gather the first person who would want to do that is the foundation, because that's both a D.C. criminal act and a federal criminal act under law. So that's what we ask is, you know, we're Ward 5. Many of us are lawyers. Many of us work for the DOJ. You know, Andrew Fletcher ran for the council membership. He lives in the building next door. So we just want transparency.
MENTWAB.
Hi, you're with Ascension, right? My question is, I mean, it's in by law you have to get the highest possible price return on this property, right?
So
you're St. Louis based, right, Missouri?
no, I'm actually local.
But Ascension is headquartered in St. Louis, right?
They are, yeah.
So that's Missouri and D.C.
Yeah.
So why didn't you go for multiple bids?
So
I mean, it's a valuable property. You got one of the homes go for like $1 million here.
So I think we've addressed it. Yeah.
No, you didn't.
The cost of demolishing the hospital, including the surgical demolition that's required of the existing MOBs.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive number.
I mean, you have the EYA at Children's Hospital, the wealthiest guys just down the road, and you have all this interest in the area. I mean, that's why I was asking. Did you have J.P. Morgan advisors, bankers? Like,
we did submit an extensive RFP process and had limited interaction.
I just talked to State Health. They said they got nothing. There was one referral of information. That was it. And it was just taken off the thing.
So we did a request for qualifications.
Yeah.
Qualified development partners.
Yeah.
Went out to over 20 local and regional development companies, such as EYA and many others.
Yeah.
We went to the districts. I forget We also posted it on
I mean, EYA is like a local outfit. This is of global interest.
the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development. Was sent that and it just posted out into the community.
So you didn't have any international bankers. I mean, you have UAE, you have the sheikh, the wealthiest guy in real estate in Qatar, in DC. They did Center City. That's Qatar Investment Authority, and that. So I'm just surprised that But
We were looking for qualified firms that knew
Oh,
how
yeah.
to build and could build to the character of
Yeah.
communities.
But-
That was
But what you're basically doing is tearing down one of our ancient hospitals and making up a very low-quality residential area, which you've seen. I mean, these are very low quality, doesn't do anything, and there's much more international interest. That's my question was, why wasn't there 3 bidders? Independent evaluation, I mean, we should have like one of the major firms, because I see you have Steptoe and Johnson, but is that your main legal advisor?
We have numerous.
But who's your main advisor?
I mean, different elements.
Yeah.
Depends on what the transaction is.
I mean, this should be a big, and you wrote down like 138 million from the hospital, right? Already.
So I live in Connecticut.
When you closed it down, I think you took the debt out of the transaction, because it was like 138 million. Because they should be buying it for 138 million with the debt, and you took the debt off, so they're buying it debt-free, correct? Yeah, there's a right. I'm right about it.
Part of the debt, Ascension did,
Yeah.
Providence campus.
For the campus. So these guys are getting it debt-free, right?
They're investing significant dollars in the campus.
Yeah, but anybody else would. I mean, they're one of
Now, I mean, I think it's
1,000 real estate firms out there. I
And the
mean,
most qualified to do this work in addition.
but you just said on record that you basically did not put a normal tender for bids like anybody else does. You interview bankers, you do what we call bake-off, you have different law firms. I mean, it's surprising.
it's a private, ultimately it's a private real estate transaction.
No, but you're non-for-profit and under Missouri law, you're in D.C., which is high profile, you're in a black neighborhood, a very affluent black neighborhood, so it's ultra high profile. This is not some place in the suburbs. You're in Washington, D.C., in Brooklyn, in one of the most historic neighborhoods. And you're Catholic, so you have the Catholic University across the road. We have the Pope here. I mean, there's no more high profile than you can get. That's why it's surprising you didn't make it as high profile as possible, putting in ads in the Wall Street Journal, going to the bankers, giving a mandate to J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, some of the major banks. And, we have law firms here, we have all the major ones. So it's just interesting.
And what kind of development would you envision that?
You could have a new pediatric development. You could have a campus, an educational campus. There's so many choices out there.
Yeah, I mean, there was no interest.
But you didn't make it. You didn't spread the word.
We went to every healthcare provider in the area and asked them.
But did you go to UAE because you have the children's, the Sheikh? We have a pediatric. That's why you
knowledgeable of the market.
No.
They did not believe there would be demand.
I mean, you're Ascension, right? The person you go to is your CEO in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're going to do something, you go to the CEO and C-suite for any kind of acquisition. You don't go to VP level.
You would typically keep the slogan for a healthcare
What?
system. You would typically keep the slogan for a healthcare system, and we typically don't have large national firms coming into an area like this. Shop. You haven't seen that. I mean, it's all
No.
local based.
Yeah.
Some of the local systems are
Yeah.
dentist tower.
Yeah.
You see a national firm coming into the districts. We wouldn't really extend
that.
to a national firm.
But to having more offers for this valuable property, it just seems surprising. You have one bid for $1. That's just shocking.
Again, it comes back to the level of interest.
I mean, you have to make you have to publicize it. Do it the right way.
Hospital or part of the development?
For the hospital.
Okay, so you heard my comment.
Yeah.
I did.
Big problem in the city.
and for you to please explore that issue relative to price and whether or not this is a fair price if they had someone on Ascension's board. I know Evan's going to say their CFO was not part of the decision making to close Providence, but just the fact that they would have that inside track is disturbing to me. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Just to correct the record, so that is not true. My CFO was never involved with Ascension in any way, shape, or form. He's not on the board of Ascension. There was a period for a year where he was on the board of Providence Hospital locally, well before the hospital was closed and had nothing to do with the closure, or was not on the board and had all when the transaction was happening. In fact, none of the members of the board that he served with were still on the board when the transaction was decided, nor was the head of the hospital.
Because the transaction, although the paperwork was signed in 23, from what I understand, this conversation has been going on since early 2019.
Yeah, well before that.
When?
We can get you this, probably.
I'm in my 4th term as an ANC commissioner. So growing up in this community, I've seen a lot of community benefits occur. I've seen community wins. I've seen community losses. And so I'm hoping that this will be a community win for everyone. I do want to reiterate that as chair of ANC 5A, EYA, Evan, others have been very consistent in terms of community engagement. Every time we called upon Providence Hospital, really EYA, to come and discuss the development, they have done so. So I will say that first and foremost, I appreciate that. Providence Hospital has served many DC residents, especially those in wards 5, 7, and 8, as they traditionally provided critical care services to low-income, people of color, and elderly Medicaid and Medicare patients. So, when it comes to if and when Providence is sold, I'm not going to go back and forth with that. We are on record going back to 2018 opposing the closure of Providence Hospital for numerous reasons. One in particular, servicing urgent care patients in this area as well as east of the river. However, if and when Providence Hospital is sold, and you continue to listen here from many organizations in this room and individuals outside of this room, I ask that you really focus on 4 recommendations from me. 2 of them I saw on the screen, which I appreciate.